6 principles of persuasion are something that's kind of very, very useful. So, the 6 principles work like this. There are 6 principles to persuasion, but they are both a science and an art. Even though today it's called the art of persuasion, to me, it's both a science and an art. It's a science because there are 6 learnable principles, but at the same time it's an art knowing how and when to actually get these principles to work, how to actually move people with these principles. So, the 6 principles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these 6 principles. I'm going to tell you what they are. I'm going to tell you why these are the 6 principles, and then I'm going to show you how to actually apply them. If we have time then as well, I'm going to do a little bit of a bonus thing as well, if we have time. So, first and foremost, the first principle of persuasion is reciprocation. Like I said, when I first went into a shop and said to a guy in the shop, can I take 30 seconds of your time, or can I have 30 seconds of your time? Straight away, that's like a bank account. If you think of it like this, when you open a bank account, there's 0 in that bank account. You can't take anything out of that bank account until you put something in. It's the same thing with, I think Stephen Covey said it in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and he said it's like an emotional bank account. You have to give something first. You have to give them something first. So when I went into a shop with these jars of chutney, I would say, I'm giving you these free samples, bring them home to your wife that are making crackers and cheese with them or whatever. You're giving something first. So you always have to give before you get. And think about that from your own point of view. If the words that you use and the actual things that you're doing for people, and this one in particular, reciprocation, I'm going to go into this in more detail in a while. But one of the things you can give to people, it doesn't necessarily have to be something physical. You can do a favor for somebody, and that's you giving something to them. But let me ask you this. If there's a favor done between 2 people, do you think that a favor ages like bread, or does it age like wine? So does a favor age like bread, or does it age like wine? Does it get worse over time, or does it get better over time? So by a show of hands, who here thinks a favor gets worse over time? Who here thinks it gets better over time? That's interesting, because most of the time it usually splits 50-50. The answer is this. It's kind of a trick question. The answer is, it depends. It depends on whether you did the favor or received the favor. Imagine this. Imagine a scenario. You are on your way out the door 4 o'clock on a Friday, and a colleague asks you to take a 10-minute meeting. Just real quick, just please, I have a dentist appointment, have to get out the door. Here's the notes for the meeting, please. You say, all right, go on, real quick. You run in, you do the meeting, and on Monday you hand them over the notes from the meeting or whatever. In 2 weeks' time, you're thinking in your head, that meeting, I saved that guy's life, essentially, by taking that meeting for him, whereas he might be thinking, remember that. It all depends whether you do the favor or receive the favor. It's all to do with your perception of reality. It's all to do with how you filter these things. So with reciprocation, if it's a favor that you've done for somebody, you need to, if you're going to do a favor for somebody with the view to ask them for something back, you need to think about when you're going to do that favor, when you're going to ask for something back, because in their mind that favor will just, it'll dissipate over time. That's the first one. Second one is authority. But the key is not to be in authority, but to be an authority. One of the biggest problems that people have in business is that when, say you're in charge of a team, say you have a particular project you want to kind of work through, and somewhere along the way it goes sideways, just the whole thing falls apart. If you're the leader of that, what you need to do is you need to lead the way for people. Nothing freezes people like fear. People don't mind fear as long as there's a way through it. We have a massive big problem, but here's what we're going to do to get through it. In the recruitment industry, really what that means is that if somebody comes to you and says, I think this is what we're kind of looking for, we're not too sure who the actual candidate is that we're looking for, that's when you take control of the situation. Okay, well here's what we're going to do. Here's the 3 steps we're going to get through. It's like when you buy something. If you buy something, you want to buy it from somebody who's an expert. You want to buy from an authority. That laptop there, I bought that laptop probably 3 weeks ago. And I kind of had an idea what I wanted. If you've seen the way the screen moves, it kind of zooms in and out and stuff. I needed a laptop that had a good enough processor and enough RAM that would allow that to happen. It wouldn't be stuttering. And I had an idea there was an i5 and 6 gigs of RAM. And I went into the shop and I didn't tell the guy I was buying it from that that's what I was looking for. But when I went in, I explained to him what my needs were, and he said, well, it's probably an i5 that you're looking for. That's the processor type. I said, yeah, I think that might be right. What about the RAM? I said, well, probably anywhere between 4 and 6 gigs of RAM is what you're looking for. So as soon as I knew that guy knows what he's talking about, I said, well, I want to buy from this guy because he knows. Do you know when you go in to buy something and the salesperson is to try hard? No matter what you say, they just agree with you. Have you ever had that? I love that. My wife walks away from me, and because meet these guys in shops when you're going to buy a kettle or something. And I say, you know, I'm looking for a really expensive kettle. And they'll bring me to the €90 kettle. And my wife knows, she just walks away because I can't listen to this, right? So she walks away and I say, she goes, yeah, this is the best one on the market, you know, it has a clicky button and the colours and whatever. And I go, yeah, it's kind of expensive though. He goes, yeah, it is expensive, it's expensive. And I'd bring them around the shop, make them show me the really cheap ones, the really expensive ones, and I'd say, I really like the colour of that. And a few minutes later, I don't really like the colour, but he just agree with me non-stop. I think I'm finished with him, I might come back later. I just love doing that. I love meeting those people who just agree with everything you say. They're not an authority, they just want the sale, get the sale, get the sale. So when it comes to being an authority, it's about being an authority, being an expert in something rather than, you know, just trying to get the sale the whole time. There's nothing to fear except what? There you go, fear itself. There's nothing to fear except fear itself. And that's key to any time you are an authority in something. That'll freeze people more than anything. If they're afraid, or if they're kind of, it's like if somebody comes to you, like Google, looking to place 400 people into their company, and you go, well, maybe we could possibly, you need to be an authority. That's fear that you're giving them to go, oh, no, I'll go somewhere else. Even if it's a subconscious thing, they'll come back and go, no, I'm not bothered with that. So that's the second one, is authority. Third thing then is commitment. Commitment, another word for that is consistency. Where all of us are we're a proud species, all of us. We all want to do things that are consistent with what we've done in the past. For example, let me tell you about a study that was done in America where they had a particular neighborhood, right? And there was a housing estate at one end of the town, housing estate at the other end of the town. Both similar sized houses, similar age groups living in these houses. And what the experiment was this, it was an election coming up. There was a local election. And they went to the first group of houses and they said, can we put a huge big billboard into your garden for this particular candidate? Most people said, what? No. Most people said no. Right? Obviously they said, no, can't, no. And they said, we're not going to pay, we just want to put this huge big thing into your garden. I said, no. I said, okay, fair enough. They went to the opposite end of the town then, and rather than ask to put a huge big billboard in, they said, can we put a little tiny postcard-sized billboard into your front garden just to, you know, help this politician get elected? Yeah, okay, fine, yeah, one little small thing, it's not going to make a big difference. They put a little thing in the ground. The next week they came back to those people and said, can we put a slightly bigger one into your garden? Okay, yeah, fine, put a slightly bigger one, A4 size, right? Every week they went back and said, can we, I know, look, we're pushing, but can we put a slightly bigger one in again? All right, then, yeah, fine, put a slightly bigger one in. And every week they got bigger and bigger and bigger until they had a huge big billboard in their garden. And the question is why? Why did they agree to it? Because nobody wanted to lose face and say, well, you know, that's enough now or whatever. People just are consistent. They want to be consistent. So when it comes to something like terms and conditions, you need to get that consistency, get it early. You need to get that commitment early. The best way to get that commitment is to get the person to write down in their own handwriting what the terms and conditions are. I don't mean like holding somebody over the coals saying you have to stick to this, go, well, if you were to write down what the terms and conditions are in this particular contract, what would you say? Well, like kind of the bones of this particular thing. Somebody sees their own handwriting, oh yeah, I did agree to that. Once they see their own handwriting, there's something psychological that's been proven again and again in things like this, where they're more committed to what they've physically written down themselves. So it's an interesting kind of, it's my favourite one out of the whole six, is the commitment one, because I think it's one that people just stick with. It's a weird one that people are just consistent all the time. Another way to have somebody be consistent is to label them positively. So rather than saying to somebody, you know, say somebody, a member of your team, who this isn't in their particular job description, you might say something like, I know this isn't really your area of expertise, but would you mind having a look at this particular problem? Well, in the subconscious parts of the brain, right on that kind of cusp of consciousness, they're going to think, well, this isn't really my area of expertise. I don't really know how to do this. Chances are they won't do a good job. If you go up to someone and say, John, look, I know you're a problem solver, I know you can figure this out, and have a look at this one. What you've done is you've labelled them positively, and they think, yeah, I am a problem solver. Everybody wants to believe the great things about themselves, no matter whether they're true or not. Right? Everyone does. Everyone believes the good things that they hear about themselves. So if you label somebody positively, they will be consistent with that. Here's a question. I always get this mixed up now and I ask questions, see if I can ask it correctly. What priced bottle of wine is the most popular anywhere in the world? Someone shout out something. Give me something. Give me an answer. Half price? No. Which?
Not cheap one, not the expensive one.
Exactly. It's the middle price. It's the middle priced wine. It's one that always sells. And actually, more specifically, it's the second cheapest. You think about when you go out for dinner, nobody buys the €14 bottle of wine. If it's a nice dinner you're going out for, 23, 24 euro. Nobody buys the 50 quid bottle of wine either though. The 24-ish bottle of wine, that's what everyone buys. It's because it's what's known as the magnetic middle. Everyone wants to do what everyone else is doing. Nobody wants to be the cheapskate, nobody wants to be the loud trousers guy buying the big bottle of wine. 24 euros is probably about right. That's the bottle of wine that sells most anywhere in the world. It's the magnetic middle. Everyone wants to be consistent with what everyone else is doing. Fourth and then is scarcity. Scarcity is also fascinating because what it means is that people are afraid of things that are going to run out. If something is limited, it forces people into action. So in the 1980s, there was a woman, can't think of her name now, but she was put in charge of writing a script for a particular product for the QVC station. Buy it now, the Panali pen set, the Craftmatic adjustable bed, whatever it was. She was put in charge of writing the script. And she changed a few things in the script that existed. But the one thing she changed was this. Rather than saying, call now to buy your Craftmatic adjustable bed, what she did was this. She changed the last line to this. If operators are busy, please call again. And sales went through the roof. The question is why? Why did I go through the roof? And the reason is for scarcity. It creates that little tiny seed in the person's mind where they go, why would the operators be busy? Is everyone else ringing at the same time? It's not like somebody loses their mind and goes, oh my God, I have to buy it right now. But what it does, it just plants that seed where people think, why would the line be busy? Maybe I'll just ring now and get it done. And everyone thinks that way. Scarcity is a fascinating one. It's like, those closing down sales? You ever see those closing down sales and then the shop's still there the next week? And everyone goes in and just buys all the stuff. Right, that's what that is. It's scarcity. It's going to be gone next week. I better get in and get it really quick. That's what scarcity actually is. I'm going to come back to that later on as well. The next one is liking. And this one to me, again, is really fascinating because they did an experiment in a restaurant in upstate New York. The name of the restaurant was like Pinnacles or something was called like that. And what they wanted, these two behavioral scientists, they wanted to see if they could get the tips for the waitstaff up, see if they could get the people to get more tips. They did it over 4 weeks. The first week, they just observed. Like they needed to have something to compare to. They just observed what these people got for the whole week in tips. The second week, what they did is they used those little after-dinner mints over there, little jar of mints over there, and they put say there was 8 people at the table, put 8 sweets onto the tray and put the tray down. Right, so now there was 1 sweet for every individual person. But they didn't hand them out to people, just left them on the tray with the bill. And what they found is that there was a slight increase in the tips, and that was interesting. When it's personalised, rather than leaving the sweets at the till, not sometimes they have the huge big thing of sweets, you just take them as you leave. Rather than doing that, they put them and they personalised it slightly. The week after that then, so this is the third week now, that was the second week. The third week what they did was that they got the waitstaff to put the sweet down in front of each person. And the tips went up again, because now it was even more personalised. I thought, this is really interesting. But the fourth week is when it went astronomical, it went ridiculous. Because what they did was this. They instructed the waitstaff to do the same thing, put a sweet down in front of each person, but then to walk away, and then go, actually, do you know what? Here, there's another few sweets, please. And it's ridiculous. The tips were, they just couldn't believe the numbers that these people were getting. Because it was personalised, because they were, you will only do that for somebody that you like. So if you're sitting at the table, you think, I quite like these people. Or if you're the waiter, you think, actually, I quite like these people, give them some more sweets. Right? Sweets, I assume, cost less than a penny, most of those sweets. But yet it has a huge effect on, you're sitting at the table, and actually, I really like her. I'm going to give her an extra $5 or $10, whatever it is. So when somebody likes you, they're more likely to do something for you. We all know that doing things in business, we all prefer to work with people that we like. But this is one that's the hardest to get your head around, and I'll explain why later on. The last one then is social proof. And social proof essentially means that it ties in with the very first one, reciprocation. There is safety in numbers. That there is, if everyone else is doing it, then I want to do it as well. That's essentially what the social proof means. And what can happen is that it can actually work in reverse order as well. And again, another study that was done, the same two behavioural scientists, there was a forest in Seattle that has a particular tree that has this particular bark. Once a year, these trees shed this bark, and the bark is kind of spread all over the ground. It looks fantastic. It's looks like an ornament, whatever way it comes off. And what was happening is that people were taking this bark and bringing it home and leaving it on their mantelpiece as a little ornament or a little kind of trip to the forest. And what happened was that there was one year in particular, was 2 tons of this stuff was removed, and it had a huge effect on the ecology of the system, whatever. So they put up a sign, and the sign said this: everyone else is taking the bark. Over 2 tons of it went missing last year. Please don't be one of them. And what do you think happened? Take a guess what happened. More than ever went missing. 3 tons went missing the next year. And the reason is because everyone wants to do what everyone else is doing. It's negative social proof. It's like, well, I'm only just, if there's 2 tons, what's this? That's only a small little bit. That's what that is. And that's what negative social proof is. So that's what the 6 different principles of persuasion are.